after, and this isn't really fermenting yet, it's just sort of starting. So they would have probably crushed in the last here. The less the enzymes are active, so there's also less oxidation, there's less enzymes to start breaking down. That's things that cause, like, especially browning and heat. So if we're pumping the wine over, giving it air, we're also dispelling a lot of that heat. So we can also manage that. So later in the ferment, when the yeast is starting to struggle, there's not too much sugar left, there's a lot of alcohol, and therefore they're starting to be in a fairly toxic environment. That's where I might, go much more gentle on the pump overs, or just do some push downs as well. So you just get a bit gentle towards the end, and obviously at the start, all I want to do is just keep the cap wet. And the reason for keeping the cap wet, so there's a lot of information coming out. So the cap is keeping the fruit under the liquid? Yeah, the cap is what forms, so when the fermentation starts, all the berries and stuff float up and create a big mass, and there's juice at the bottom, right? So we call that the cap of it. That's where a lot of the heat is. So we make it homogenized and keep that sort of going. But right at the top, we keep it wet because you can get, right on the top, if you don't keep it wet right at the start, you can get some bacteria forming some pretty stinky compounds. It's called VA, or volatile acidity. It's not necessarily a bad thing. A little bit is going to happen and you won't notice it. But yeah, I like to avoid that. So, there's, yeah.
So what's your assessment of the fruit, James?
Fruit looks great. Fruit looks really, really good. It's nice and it's quite ripe, but a lot of those berries that I saw come in have plumped up a bit from when we saw it
on Monday.
So when we saw it the other day, when the berries shrivel up a little bit, that's less water. It just means that it's sweeter. It's like a raisin versus a grape, right? And we don't want it to be too sweet, because that means it's going to be too alcoholic. So plumping it up just means that there's a bit more water.
There's alcohol.
And that'll just allow us to probably get, a finer wine out of it, because your ultimate goal really for Pinot is probably somewhere between 12.5 and 13.5 Beaumont, which roughly translates to 12.5 to 13.5% alcohol at the end of the day. When you get to 14.5, 15%, they get hot. They're really quite, they're not as complex. Hot alcohol heat, we say. So like if you drink a bit of vodka, you get that heat. That it's hard to say that's an alcohol burn, I guess, and that's what we're trying to sort of balance. Like it's all about balance. Once it's dry, once all the alcohol's gone, it's finished. We put it back into that press, squeeze it off, so all the skins are nice and dry, which we get rid of. All the juice goes into the barrel, and then essentially we put it to bed, and we sort of forget about it till, roughly for about 11 months. And all we do during that 11-month period is we check it, top it up a little bit as the barrels go down due to evaporation, and yeah, you just leave it to sleep and to do its own thing with more of the wine. So it's just a bit of just a minute, like 4.2 pH. Might throw a gram of acid at it really early. That integrates. It doesn't taste like it's added acid. We're not adding a lot of it, as I said. It's just a small amount to keep it down. But this is pretty early, so the pH was actually significant. It was really low. So I guarantee we won't be adding any acid this year. We won't actually have to add a lot. So of anything really, which is nice. It makes when it comes inside these doors, if the fruit comes in well from the vineyard, all we're trying to do is not stuff it up, really. So, and we don't need to fix it, we don't need to add a lot, we don't need to do a lot, and that's really nice. That's why Tassie fruit is expensive and good, and we make high quality wines. We don't have to do a lot. I work in the Hunter Valley a lot, and they can get quite hot and humid, and they can get bombed with a lot of disease, and that's where you have to do a lot of work as a winemaker to try and clean the wine up and make it something that's really nice to drink as well. So it's actually a lot harder. In Tassie, it's kind of like, it's nice. Sometimes in a good year, it's really easy. So yeah, does anyone have any questions?
Just maybe one final question. How long do you anticipate the fermentation to go for?
A fermentation roughly goes for about 10 days. We look at it, pump it over roughly twice a day, but fermentation starts cold, gets really hot, and then it starts to decline and gets cooler and then goes long. So the main part of the fermentation happens in probably the first 3 days. So you might go from, say, 13 Beaumet down to 6 Beaumet in the first few days. And then the last, 4 Beaumet will go over the next 4 days. Might take almost another week for the last little bit to finish, but I tend